Hi everyone, welcome back. It's my AK Swedish Whiskey Girl, and today we're actually in one of my favourite places in Edinburgh, on Calton Hill. If you're ever in Edinburgh visiting, I can definitely recommend you go here, because as you can see, we have Princes Street just down there, so this is only a short walk away. We are of course going to also review a whiskey, and we are today here with Glenkinchie 12. And of course, Glenkinchie is a distillery that a lot of people associate with Edinburgh, often called the Edinburgh Malt. It is located about 15 miles that way, so it is very much a lowland whiskey. And of course, Glenkinchie is one of the 6 classic malts of Diageo. Diageo is of course one of the biggest whiskey companies, but it is still important to support big companies in these harsh times, because of course they're providing lots of jobs, and of course they are now refurbishing the Glenkinchie distillery and will not reopen until that project is all finished. And it's of course one of kind of the main distilleries that will also be associated to the Johnnie Walker experience that is opening hopefully soon. Was supposed to open this year, but now we're not so sure, but that will of course be located behind me on the other end of Princes Street. Glenkinchie, and this is of course the 12-year-old, they also are a distillery that are known for using worm tubs as their condensers. I've always been a little bit hesitant towards worm tubs, but I'm starting to come around now, and I do think they're quite interesting. They will affect the spirits and make it a little bit maybe heavier and oilier, and sometimes you get more sulfuric notes in your whiskey. And this 12-year-old sits at 43% ABV and has been primarily matured in ex-bourbon casks. Glenkinchie is also one of those distilleries that you could expect goes into your Johnnie Walker blends, and actually back in the day when Diageo had to shut some of their distilleries, it was actually between Rose Isle and Glenkinchie which one they would keep and which one they would have to shut down. And Glenkinchie was of course the one they chose. Glenkinchie is also known for having one of the biggest wash stills in Scotland, and it's actually quite impressive. I've been to the distillery, of course, before all the refurbishments and renovations, so it's going to be very exciting to see what they're like when they reopen. But yeah, it was a good tour, and I've heard a lot of other people had a really lovely time when they were there as well. But let's start by having a little look on the nose. What I think is so funny about Glenkinchie is that you get this kind of light aromas coming through. It's a little bit malty, a little bit like porridgey, but you get this kind of denseness and the heavy notes from kind of the worm tubs coming through. It just has like another kind of heaviness to it. Even though it feels light, it's like a different texture. So it's like light as in it feels like quite orange and yellow with that maltiness, but then there's something about it that just makes the texture seem a bit more dense. It's a little bit kind of biscuity because it's quite sweet as well. A little bit of citrus, and it has this kind of a murky funk to it. And when we did a tasting with this, someone said it's like cheesecake, and I kind of agree, because you get that kind of the kind of fresh cheesy note, but also the biscuity kind of layer of it. But let's have a little taste. Slangeva. Yeah, it's quite light and quite... It does have a fairly oily texture, but then it has a little bit of spice to it. So it's like if you had like a spiced biscuit. But there's also like this hint of kind of like towards sulfur. It's a little bit bitter and it's a little bit oilier. I mean, it's definitely a worm tub character, and that used to be something that as soon as I got it in my whiskey, I was like, nope, not for me. But now it is intriguing. Even to the point that I know there's a whiskey called Worm Tub that is a blend of different worm tub influenced whiskies, and I'm so curious. So yeah, it can really change. Always worth trying whiskies again. They're quite light and fresh, like quite springtimey. Still quite malty. I think that malt mixed with the kind of worm tub character is what it's like the dominant flavour. It also makes it feel like very much a lowland whiskey. a little bit like autumn leaves, that kind of murky maltiness. Yeah, a little bit of that murky autumn leaves, even though it has this kind of springtime floral freshness in a way. It's definitely an interesting whiskey, and I know there's a lot of people that either think it's quite light and easy to approach, especially maybe if you're new to whiskey, but I know there's also some more hardcore fans that like it because of that wormwood influence. So it's a little bit of a 50-50 thing. But I would of course love to hear what you think. Have you tried Glenkinchie 12 and what's your thoughts on it? Or have you perhaps been to the distillery and what did you think of the tour? I would of course love to hear your thoughts, so please put them in the comments below. And of course, if you like what I'm doing here on YouTube and my other social channels, I'd be absolutely over the moon if you consider using my affiliate links the next time you're shopping with Master Malt, the Whisky Exchange, or the Scotch Malt Whisky Society. All the information is of course in the description here below as well as links to my Instagram, my Patreon, my Teespring shop, and my website if you're curious about that. And as always, a massive thank you to my wonderful supporters on Patreon. Your support means so much, and I'm so happy you want to continue to follow me on my whiskey journey. I hope you've all had an absolutely wonderful week. Slán Scotch.